All right, everyone, it is just after 8:30 a.m. Thank you all for joining us this morning at the Local Assistance Day webinar. We're so happy to have you all join us this morning. My name is Samantha Soto. You'll usually hear me go by Sammy. I am the Division of Local Assistance Chief of Staff, and really happy to be here with you all this morning. So before we begin, I'd like to review just a few technical housekeeping items with you all to get us in order and start off the morning right. So today's webinar is going to be recorded, as you all know. If you've not heard, we're already currently recording. This recording will be accessible to you all at a later date. The agenda has been emailed to all registered participants at the email address you provided upon registration. Please reserve the chat features for relevant comments, or as previously stated, to add your name and agency if you have not already, so that we can say hello, good morning. And if you have any questions or answers for our presenters as they're presenting, please reserve those for the Q&A field, which you'll see on the bottom bar. So again, just to reiterate, the chat field, which you're all currently typing in, is reserved for comments and chatter, and then the Q&A field is going to be reserved for our questions to presenters. This is important because we want to be able to capture all of your questions, and just, in case we're not able to, ideally, we would like to get to all of your questions during this webinar, but if we're for any reason unable to get to a question, this will allow us to document your questions and ensure that we circle back to them and answer them after this webinar. Presenters are going to be providing any relevant links as well as their contact information in chat after their presentation. To ensure that we have a smooth flow and that everyone is able to hear our presenters and our speakers, please kindly ensure that your microphone is muted to deter any background noise. If you're not, well, you won't be speaking, so just make sure it's muted, please. If you have any questions regarding today's event, please contact us at caltrans.dla@dot.ca.gov. And to receive the DLA email announcements as well as our office bulletins, please visit the DLA blog and enter your contact information in the right-hand side of the column at www.localassistanceblog.com. And both of those links will be found in the chat that I just listed. I'm going to mention this again towards the end of our webinar today, but I want to have an opportunity to say it at the front end in case anyone's not able to stay through the entire webinar. We're going to ask that you please add, if you have anything to suggest to help us improve our webinar or any agenda items for us that you would like to see at our next Local Assistance Day on May 8th, please drop those in the Q&A field for us today. Again, the Q&A field so that we can capture them and include your recommendations in our future presentations. So with that, morning, Laurie. I would like to toss over to our RTPA chair, Rich Murphy, to kick off this meeting for us. Rich, whenever you're ready.
Samantha, thank you. Yeah, I'm Rich Murphy. For those of you that don't know me, I am the current year RTPA moderator. As some of you may know, and those of you that don't, the RTPA moderator coordinates, facilitates the issues that come across the California Transportation Commission's agenda. We time our meetings the day of or the day before those commission meetings commence so that we can stay on point with policy issues, programming issues, and of course, project delivery issues. And just a shout out to Caltrans Local Assistance at headquarters for having these great webinar sessions to give all of us the opportunity to stay engaged. There's so much technical information that many of us, some of us in smaller counties such as myself, we really need this added assistance, and we rely on the state's technical skill set and ability to deliver very solid webinar sessions such as this. So thank you, Samantha, and to the team in advance. I know Dee Lamb, the the DLA division chief and headquarters was going to also participate on the front end here, but she'll have some remarks at the end. But I assure you that I'm accessible to any and all of you for issues that you want to raise that you feel that the RTPA group could or should raise in some of our committee sessions that inform the commission staff, or directly to the local assistance staff. We have those abilities. So if you don't have my contact information, certainly I'll make certain it's available before this is over. If you had anything you wanted to also just kind of run through the line here. So all that said, there's a lot of good stuff here. And Samantha, you have the topic, or we have the topic number 1 on the agenda on obligation plans, which can be somewhat foreign in the sense of, from my perspective, it's like managing the expectation of my boss when there's conversations of obligation plans, and then some of the narrative that comes with that, which is the discussion about what happens at the end of the federal fiscal year with the any unobligated funds. But I know that this is for a topic that Abhijit and his team will cover effectively. And Abhijit, good to see you on the line. It's been great working with you over the years. And
Same here, Rich.
I'll let you just hop on and do your thing.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You
Hope
bet.
you all can hear me well. Perfect.
Yes, Abhijit.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for attending the webinar. So this session, we're going to talk about the obligation plans. My name is Abhijit Bagde. I'm a senior transportation engineer with Headquarters Division of Local Assistance. And next slide, please. So let's quickly go over the agenda. So I will discuss what are the obligation plans overview, the deadlines, how the obligation plans are managed. Then Megan Perazzo will talk about the various DLA reports that are published by local assistance, posted on our website. And in the last, like Danny Mossman will discuss the new tool that we are introducing this year, like managing obligation plan using a smart sheet. In the past, we have been using the Excel. Now, this time we are doing a pilot program with MTC and would like to implement for the other regions to use this new tool, like how to manage the obligation plan using the smart sheet. So that's in a nutshell in the agenda. And first is me, so I'll quickly go over the obligation plan. Next slide, please. So why obligation plans and what are obligation plans? So basically, obligation plans is a list of the projects that region would like to deliver over the course of the current federal fiscal year till September 30th, which is the end of the federal fiscal year. And you always heard about the terms like apportionment and obligation authority. So I'll quickly go over what is the difference between the two. So apportionments are the distribution of funds based on the statutory formula. Some of the apportioned funds are like a CMAQ, STBG, and so on. Where the obligation authority is the one, excuse me, how much funds we can obligate during a particular federal fiscal year. Now, apportionments usually last for 4 years, 1 plus 3, the year that they are apportioned, and additional 3 years, whereas the obligation authority only lasts for 1 year. And obligation authority usually doesn't have any color associated with it, whereas the apportionments have colors such as CMAQ, STBG, and so on. So why do we need to prepare obligation plans? There are 2 state requirements. First one is AB 1012 requirements, which require regions to submit obligation plans to department every year. And there are state statutes like Street and Highway Code 182.6 for STBG funds and 182.7 for CMAQ funds. Now, these 2 state statutes require department to apportion CMAQ, STBG funds to the regions. At the same time, these codes also require regions to provide the amount of obligation authority they're going to use for this federal fiscal year, and also requires them to submit the list of the projects that they would like to deliver during this federal fiscal year for these 2 fund types. Next slide, please. Let's talk about the timeline. In December, Megan sent out a notice to employers and RTPAs that included the instructions for developing the obligation plan. It has the template and other additional information. The next milestone is March 15th, where the obligation plans are due to DLAs in the district. And on April 1st, the DLAs are required to send the obligation plans to headquarters. Then we will start doing the obligation plans, see where the projects are, and so on. And I want to kind of quickly talk about the consequences of not submitting the obligation plan. So in case if the region does not submit the obligation plan by March 15th, then its OA share will go to the statewide pool starting April 2nd. So I don't think it has happened before, but just as a cautionary note, please pay attention to the March 15th deadline to submit the obligation plan for your regions to your district local assistance engineer. Next slide, please. Now, this is the obligation plan template, which was included in email that sent by Megan. It was an Excel spreadsheet. So it has the information. We need the information for the project, which district, MPO, local agency, what is the FTP information, federal project number, and so on. And the next slide, we talk quickly about the some of the key items from this template. Next slide. So key item is FTP ID. FTP is a Federal Transportation Improvement Program prepared by each MPO. There are 18 MPOs in the state. So they all prepare their FTP, which is a 4-year document updated every 2 years. The next one is the FSTP status. FSTP stands for like a Federal Statewide Transportation Improvement Program, which is managed by Caltrans. If unless a project is included in the approved FSTP, no federal funds can be spent on a project. So it is very critical that the projects that are included in the obligation plan have the FSTP status included. If not, we would like regions to include a note when it's going to be included in the FSTP, because FSTP process is a time-consuming process. It could take up to 3 to 4 months for a project to be included in the FSTP because it has approvals at the regional level, MPO level, Caltrans level, and FHWA and FTA level. So last year, I managed it for the first time. So I realized that some of the projects were not in the FSTP, or they were in a process of getting amended to the FSTP. So unless they're in the FSTP, we won't be able to authorize those projects or process E76 for those projects. Then the next one is the federal project number. Your district local assistance engineer can help you about getting this information over the federal project number. So please reach out to DLAE. The next one is plan date of obligation. We would like to know, when do you come in for authorization? That date is going to be between April 1st to September 30th. The next one is level of certainty. Like the drop-down menu has like 3 levels, like a low, medium, and high. So low meaning like there is a very low possibility of project coming in for authorization this year. So we would like to see the level of certainty. And last but not the least is like a federal fund type and total federal obligation. So if a project has multiple federal funds, let's say CMAQ, STBG, and so on, please include the amount in the appropriate column for the fund type and include the total federal funds that are going to be obligated for, are supposed to be obligated for this project. Next slide, please. So this is what our plan is starting this year, like how to manage the obligation plans. Between April and August, we are planning to meet with the districts, MPOs, RTPAs, and local agencies twice a month to go over the obligation plan. And if there is anything district or headquarters can help for any constraints for a project and how we can mitigate them and basically establish a seamless delivery. So those invitations will be coming out soon. So please do attend those meetings. And we would like to have regions and district continue updating the obligation plan. So when you guys come to the meeting, like please make sure that the obligation plan has the latest project information, such as the obligation date, if any funds have been changed since you submitted the obligation plan, FTP ID, federal project number, and so on. And also exclude any non-formula funded projects from the plan, such as HIP, Highway Infrastructure Program, various discretionary programs, and ER. There is a separate OA for these programs, so they are not part of the formula OA. And we'll talk about what are the formula programs as part of the next slide. Next slide, please. So these are this is a list of the formula programs. The ones that are in blue are the ones that are required to include on the obligation plan, such as STBG, CMAQ, Highway Safety Improvement Program, Carbon Reduction Program, Protect, and so on. So these are the ones that if your project has these funding from these programs, please ensure that they are included in the obligation plan. Next slide, please. So at this time, I'm going to hand you over to Megan.
Thank you, Abhijit. I'm Megan. I work in our Office of Subvention Management, and I work on the monthly reports. So each month, my office completes the OA and the apportionment monitoring reports, and we post the reports to the DLA internet website. So you can navigate to these reports through the main DLA website, or you can use the individual links to get to each report. Also, once the reports are posted online, I do send an email to the RTPA moderator, who then forwards the email to all the regions that are in the RTPA group email. And this email also contains links to the reports, and it contains my contact information. Next slide, please. The CMAQ and the RSTP apportionments, they have a 4-year lifespan, and the AB 1012 report helps us to monitor the apportionment balances in order to prevent the funds from lapsing. AB 1012 was passed in October 1999 to improve the delivery of federally funded transportation projects. The legislation states that CMAQ and RSTP apportionments that are not obligated within the first 3 years are subject to reprogramming by the CTC at the start of the 4th year. Next slide, please. So every month there are 2 reports for the current AB 1012 cycle. We post a regional report summary and a rural report summary. The report, there are 2 columns for CMAQ and there are 2 for RSTP. For each program, there is a column for the unobligated balance and a column for the amount subject to reprogramming. So having an amount in the unobligated balance column is okay. It's the amount that's in the subject to reprogramming column that needs to be monitored. If there is an amount in the subject to reprogramming column, the region has until November 1st to take care of the balance. However, to be on the safe side, regions should really try and take care of that balance in July, August, or early September, because there's no guarantee that there will be new OA immediately available in October. The amount subject to reprogramming can be cleared by obligating projects or loaning the apportionments to another region. These are the preferred ways to clear an amount subject to reprogramming. If a region cannot obligate or loan the apportionments, then the region can request an extension from the CTC or request the CTC to reprogram the funds. Either of these options will result in a CTC book item explaining why the region cannot obligate or loan the apportionment, and the region will have to appear before the CTC to defend the request. We have not had these 2 types of book items for a very long time because everyone's done a really good job of monitoring and clearing those AB 1012 amounts that are subject to reprogramming. The obligation plans help us to monitor the regions with amounts subject to reprogramming. We check what is on the obligation plan to see if the region will have a project come in to use the funds that are subject to reprogramming. But if a region doesn't have a project listed on the obligation plan that will use that AB 1012 amount, then we will start reaching out to the districts and the regions so we can start working and planning on how to clear that amount. Online, we currently have our federal fiscal year 2024 cycle 25 reports available for October through January. Next slide, please. The monthly CMAQ and RSTP/STBGP activity reports are a monthly checkbook for each region's CMAQ and RSTP/STBGP apportionment balances. The STBGP balances are separated into urban and any area or flex. These reports display the previous month's balance, any adjustments that have occurred in the current month, like a loan agreement, or if some apportionments have been recently issued. The reports also contain any obligation or FTA transfer activity, and at the bottom is the current month's ending balance. These reports can be really helpful for monitoring apportionment balances, and they provide like an expanded view or breakdown of the apportionment balances that are also on the AB 1012 report. Online, we currently have our federal fiscal year 2024 reports for October through January posted. Okay, next slide, please. The monthly OA delivery report displays the local share of Formula OA and shows the distribution of the local Formula OA to the various regions and the headquarters programs. The report shows the initial OA distribution for each region, plus or minus the previous federal fiscal year's over and under delivery adjustments, a deduction for oversight, and any LS&R needs assessment adjustments. After all the adjustments are made, the adjusted OA column will display the region's fair share of OA that can be used through April 30th. On May 1st, we open the free-for-all, and at that point, regions are allowed to use more OA than they receive. But please note that in our OA management policy, we do allow for the free-for-all to open early if OA usage is less than 35% on March 15th. The OA delivery report also has a set of footnotes that provide more information on each of the columns and provide information about any other adjustments that have been made to the report. And online, again, we have the federal fiscal year 2024 OA delivery report available and posted for October through January. And I'm going to hand this back to Abhijit.
Thank you, Megan. So this slide will talk about what are the critical deadlines for OA delivery for this federal fiscal year. Like last October, the FEMA's opened, so whatever projects we have received, they have been obligated. Right now, we are in the month of March. The critical deadline is for the RTPAs and MPOs to submit the obligation plan to their district by March 15th. That is critical. And like Megan mentioned in last slide, local OA pool will open if the delivery is less than 35% by March 15th. The next will be in month of May. As usual, like local OA pool opens on May 1st. So anyone can come in and start obligating the projects starting May 1st. After that, in month of June, the deadline for project deobligation, and the district enters the viable project in the FADS, which is a federal aid data system for the August redistribution list. And then in the next slide, we'll talk very briefly what is August redistribution. So the district would enter the projects in the FADS in late June. In month of July, agencies E76 are required to submit to the district. This is very critical deadline for the agencies who are attending the meeting today. Your E76 for the projects are due in the district during the first week of July. And the second bullet is like our office will start working on the August redistribution list. We work with our Office of Federal Resources to come up with the list for the Caltrans to receive the August redistribution, and we send it to Federal Highways. And we usually get the FHWA's approval by probably in the August. And also, if you have any projects which have like a FTA transfers to FHWA, so late July is the deadline for that. In the month of August, the deadline is like active deobligation, and the districts are required to submit their E76 to headquarters by mid-August to process. In month of September, which is the last month of the federal fiscal year, local assistance headquarters will send the E76 to FHWA early September. And the FEMA's usually shuts down during the late September till sometimes is open in mid-October. So for now, I would like to draw your attention to the deadlines are like March 15th. Obligation process are due to districts, and your E76 are due to the districts during the first week of July. Next slide, please. So obligation plans and August redistribution. So what is the relation between the obligation plan and August redistribution? So quickly, I would like to kind of go overview of August redistribution. As I mentioned during my first slide is that the OA only lasts for 1 year. August redistribution process ensures that all OA used by the end of the federal fiscal year, because if it's not used, it has no value. So what FHWA does is during the month of August, any unused OA from various states, they distribute to the other states who have used the OA for the current federal fiscal year or demonstrated the need that they need additional OA. So this is called as August distribution. And every year, Caltrans do receive August distribution because we have exhibited the demand. And in order for us to request the August distribution OA, we must demonstrate the need. and obligation plans kind of a factor into forecasting the need. So that's the relation between the obligation plan and August distribution, because obligation plan received from the regions would tell us how many projects they plan to come for obligation during the current federal fiscal year. So once we get the obligation plan, we start obligating the projects, we manage the OA balance, and then we establish a priority list of projects once the OA is exhausted. And that helps us to build the list of August redistribution projects. But in order for Caltrans local assistance to develop the list of the projects of August distribution, these projects must be included in the FADs. District enters the projects in the FADs upon receiving E76 requests from the agencies. So we usually start this exercise by beginning of July. We look into the FADs, how many projects are included, and based on that, we prepare the August redistribution list. And our federal resources prepare the list of the AR projects for the state highway. We do it for local assistance, and the combined list, we send it to FHWA by mid-July. And once we get the additional AR approval, we obligate the projects that are established on the priority list. So in a nutshell, like your obligation plan is a critical document because it kind of forecasts the need of how much additional OA the states or Caltrans is going to need to obligate all the projects. So usually, like I mentioned, Caltrans have been successful getting additional AR from FHWA because every year we do demonstrate that there is a need for us to deliver additional projects. So please pay attention to your obligation plan. Make sure that all the projects that you intend to deliver this federal fiscal year are included on the obligation plan. Next slide, please. Things to remember. We talk about the deadlines for the OA delivery for 2024. The critical deadlines I mentioned is like a March 15th for regions to submit the obligation plans to the district. And first week of July is for the regions or local agencies to submit their E76 to the district. It is important to submit the obligation plan by the deadlines. And as I mentioned, like this year, we're going to meet with all the district and regional partners, including MPOs, RTPAs, local agencies, twice a month, starting April, to go over the obligation plan, see if we could do anything, any constraints to remove so that the projects can be delivered. Please make sure the projects are inactive projects. Please keep an eye on them. And make sure none of your funds are lapsing. So that's critical. Like our apportionments usually last for 4 years. So please make sure that none of those funds are lapsing. And the deadline for the FTA transfer projects is end of July. Next slide, please. So this I'm going to hand over to Danny Mossman. Danny?
Yeah, thank you, Abhijit. So my name is Danny Mossman. As Abhijit mentioned, I work in local assistance with Megan and Abhijit really closely. So I'm going to go over really quickly how we're going to manage the obligation plans this year. So we're changing how we do it this year, and I want to explain why we're making the change. So previously, we used Excel files, and we're still getting the obligation plans in an Excel format. However, what we found in previous years was managing all the different files from all the different regions and districts was very difficult because we're trying to match up all the different project numbers. Some of the projects don't even have project numbers, and trying to get that all updated and update all the statuses on different files was kind of a nightmare. So we tried to come up with a new way to manage these plans and track the statuses. And so that's what I'm going to go over in my part of the presentation. And so as Abhijit mentioned, we're going to be starting these bi-weekly status meetings here in the next 6 weeks or 8 weeks. And so once we receive all the obligation plans from all the different districts, we're going to be uploading those into our new monitoring system. The new system is based on a Smartsheet program that we have here in our office, and we're going to be using a dynamic module within Smartsheets to provide updates for all the projects. And I'm going to provide a little demonstration on how that works. And so how the process will go is the region will provide updates for all their projects to the districts prior to our biweekly meetings. And then the district staff can go into our new tool and provide all those changes prior to our meetings. And so that's critical so that when we're in the meetings run smoothly. We have all the updates beforehand. And so we're not spending most of the meetings, trying to figure out what project we're talking about and what the updates are. And if those are all updated before the meeting starts, then we can have a good, efficient meeting. And everybody should be working off the same information, and it's a real-time system. So it's really nice. And we can talk about potential issues in those meetings more so than just getting the updates. So that's the idea of the new tool and the meetings that we're gonna have with the districts and regions. So what kind of information can be updated in the tool? The obligation status of the project. So if the project was obligated, that can be updated in there. Maybe the project's no longer going to be coming in for obligation this federal fiscal year. That can be updated. We can update the level of certainty that Abhijit mentioned, or the risk level. So maybe we didn't think the project would, we thought the project was going to come in, it was going to be a high level of certainty, but maybe now it's kind of iffy, so you can update that. We can update the status related to the obligation of funds, the funds used on the project, the amounts, the type of funds. You can also add new projects. So maybe a project drops off your plan, but you want to replace it with a new project. You can do that really easily, give that information to the districts, and the district engineer can input a new project really easily. Here's kind of a view of the overall list. This is a sample based on MTC projects, and you can see it's just kind of very similar to an Excel sheet. So it's a master list, and then if one of the district engineers wants to update some information for a particular project, they just click on that row. Say they want to click on this row here. They would click on that, and what happens is up pops a little detail bar on the side, and it's really easy to update any of the information for that project in real time. And so I'm going to really show you how. I'm going to switch over and show you how it works. So here is the actual tool that we have. So if I click on that project, up pops the detail tab. I can go in here, I can change any amount. Say this amount changes, and now this is going to be 5 million. I can update that. And I can go here and add some remarks, updated. There, oops. And I can just put save, and that should update my thing here. Let's close this, and there's updated. Everyone will have access to this in the meeting, so we'll be going through this in the meeting. We'll have the remarks from the district. It'll highlight any changes from the last time we met, and so everything should be here, and we can filter by what's been updated. We can forecast all our OA using this tool as well, and so we have a really good idea for August redistribution, like Abhijit was saying, and so really helpful. And so that's a quick overview of the tool. Obviously, we can add new projects really easily on this list as well. I can just go up and add new, fill in the information. It'll just add it at the bottom of the list. And this will be all connected to the master list. everything's in real time, and everyone that has access to this will have their information. They can view it, edit it, and that kind of thing. So that's a quick overview of the tool. Let's switch back to PowerPoint. Real quick, here's our contact information. If you have any questions on OA management reports, Abhijit and Megan's emails there, and then on how to use the Smartsheet tool if you're in the districts, reach out to me. It's fine. So with that, I'll toss it back to Sammy.
Thank you, Danny, Abhijit, Megan. Wonderful presentation. We do have some time for Q&A following this, and we have some questions ready for you guys to go. So this first question, Robert Nguyen, this is for you, please. A blue project, excuse me, this is from Rosemary Horning. Blue project is to be on FSTIP, and that's a question mark.
Yeah, I'd like to get a clarifications on that question. What do you mean by blue projects? Is it the project that is on that listed on the formula program, the blue highlighted projects, or what do you mean? If you can clarify that.
Okay, so what I'll go ahead and do for that Q&A, Rosemary, if you could please re-enter. Oh, yes, the project on your slide. She's very fast. So the project on the slide.
Okay, so all those projects. Hey, Danny, do you have that presentation? Can you go back to that slide number 8 that show the list of all the Formula OA projects?
Yeah,
so
which slide? Sorry.
Slide number 8. So it show a list of all the type of funds that is considered under formula programs. So all those projects have to be programs in the FTIPs and FSTIPs. Abhijit,
Can you see my screen?
Yep, see it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Abhijit, anything you'd like to add?
So like Robert said, like any project that has federal funds on it, whether it's part of the formula program or formula program, they must be programmed in the FSTIP. No, if the project is not programmed in the FSTIP, no federal funds can be approved for the projects.
Hope
So
that
for
answers.
the local
Abhijit,
agencies, like I'm sorry, Danny.
Abhijit, you made it clear that the OA plan has to be well populated with information, even if it's obviously as it relates to what we understand to be low risk, high risk for delivery, if it's programmed in the current federal fiscal year. But I'm hearing you say if you have strong confidence that you're delivering the entire federal fiscal year queue of projects in your region, that the OA plan is the source to daylight any potential advancing of federal funds due to August redistribution. So include those in the OA plan if we think there's a project in our FSTIP that we can get ready to E76 by July. Is that sort of captured?
That is correct, Rich, because as you know, FTP is a 4-year document updated every 2 years. So right now we are in the federal fiscal year 23-24. So obligation plan shouldn't only include the projects from 23-24, it can include the future program projects in the current FSTIPs that you feel confident that they're going to get delivered. Go ahead and include them on the obligation plan.
And then the smart sheet that Danny's just brought forward. So are we at the regional level, then would we be expecting to hear from the districts that, hey, we have, you've delivered 100% and you've provided a short list of other projects. Are we waiting to hear from the district on the potential August redistribution opportunity, or do we need to be proactive with our districts in pushing those projects that we identified in our OA plan that we think that we could secure August redistribution for? Hey, Robert, you got an answer to that question.
Yeah, so, let me see here. So the obligation plans should include all the projects that you are planning to obligate this federal fiscal year. So like Abhijit say, it could be project that's programmed this year or project that programmed next year. So we just have to identify it on the obligation plan so that we can come up with a projections of how much funds are going to be used, how much OA is going to be used this federal fiscal year. We manage the OA for the entire state. So depending on how many projects are coming in, we have to make sure that we stay within the OA limitations. Anything beyond that, we have to go to FHWA and ask for August redistribution.
So,
So
Rich, one quick comment here that like the obligation plan kind of gives a forecast how much OA region would need, and we can base AR list on that. But when we start preparing the August distribution list, we only include the project that are included in the FADs and not on the OA plan. So that's the critical step. So even though our obligation plan, unless they are in the FADs, we won't be able to add them to the August distribution list.
the bottom line is
agencies where circumstances have changed and maybe prior year they loaned out their apportionments and or OA capacities for the current federal fiscal year, yet circumstances change, certain projects have advanced, maybe using local funds. Can they still get in line for August redistribution if they've loaned out their current year?
Hey, Megan, do you have the answer for that?
So they have to have both, they have to have apportionment in order to come in and request an obligation. So if they have some apportionment left and they didn't have their project in FADs and it wasn't on the official AR list, sure, they can still always submit and then they'll enter our queue and they'll be put in line. But they have to have apportionment in order to do that. So if they've loaned everything out, then no, they probably shouldn't submit anything in FADs saying that they're going to obligate this year.
So for a project, for obligation, like we need both OA and apportionment. Just having one is not enough.
Yeah. Hey, Danny, can you scroll to slide number 15? There you go. Okay, so this is how we manage the obligation plans and how we deliver August redistribution. So, the first step is you have to submit your obligation plan so that we can project on how much OA we're going to use. And then once, on the second slide right here, the middle box. So once the OAs are all used up, then we establish a priority list. And the priority list is a list of all the projects that are unable to be funded with the current OA. So that's the demand that we're going to need for additional federal fund for this federal fiscal year. So we take that list to FHWA and say, hey, you know what? We have more demand than the available OA. Please give us additional federal funds. That is where the August redistribution come in. And depending on how much they give us, if we have a demand of $100 million and they give us 50 million, well, we're going to have to go by the priority list. So if your project is submitted to Caltrans, and the priority list is based on the project that is submitted to Caltrans headquarters, not the district. Okay, so if you send it to the district, that doesn't count. The district has to send it to headquarters in order for us to put those projects on the priority list. So once FHWA give us the August redistribution, then we'll obligate those projects based on first come, first serves. But that's pretty much the process. All right. I guess number 2.
All right, thanks. And so this one I have Adam Crenshaw. You've marked that you would like to answer this. The question comes from Rick Carter. PCPTA is an RTPA with an MPO SACOG. In this situation, is the RTPA or the MPO responsible for submitting the obligation plan to the DLAE for projects in Placer County?
All right. Sorry, I was just marking this to be answered live. I'll defer to Abhijit on this question.
Okay. Abhijit, let me know if you need me to reread the question.
Yeah, could you please one more time?
Absolutely. And just for the attendees, it would be helpful for us in the Q&A if you please spell out acronyms. PCPTA is a RTPA within an MPO, SACOG. In this situation, is the RTPA or the MPO responsible for submitting the obligation plan to the DLAE for projects in Placer County?
My take on this one is like a PCPTA needs to work with the SACOG, who's the MPO, to submit the obligation plan to the district.
Yeah, so Megan and I had a little discussion about these questions here. So I think in the past year, PCPTA submitted their project into SACOG, and then SACOG submit their obligation plan to Caltrans. So it's included under SACOG umbrella. Yep.
Okay, let me know when we're ready for the next question. Or more discussion is needed.
No, let's go to the next one.
Okay.
Yeah.
This next question comes from Graham Wadsworth. Good to see you, Graham. When Abhijit stated that E76 goes to the district on slide 14, does this mean that the LPA must submit the request for authorization to the DLAE?
Yes, so first step is, LPA submit your projects to the district DLAEs, and then the district would review it. And once the package is complete, they send it to headquarters, and then headquarters, we would review it. And if everything is good, then we submit it to FHWA for obligation. Yep, next.
Great, thank you. We're powering through these. So down to the final two questions. Just a reminder to our attendees at any time you can continue to drop questions in our Q&A field if they arise. This next question comes from Ofelia Bundes. Where do we access the link to the smart sheets?
Yeah, I can answer that one. So we haven't created the smart sheet yet because we haven't received the obligation plans. So once we receive all the obligation plans, we'll be creating the smart sheet, and then there will be links for the district engineers to have access to update the projects as they get status updates from the regions. So more to come on that. So yeah, we'll be in communication on that.
Great, thank you, Danny. All right, and on to the final question, Asao Blanco. Are the presentation slides available to us, or will they be available to the attendees?
Yeah, should be soon.
Okay, great.
And
Say,
go ahead. Before we close it out on this section here, so just a reminder that we will be scheduling meeting twice a month starting April to go over your obligation plans. So, MPO, RTPAs, please attend those meetings along with the district so that we can discuss any specific project challenges that you may have. If you have a problem with a project, we can look into it and help you deliver if it's possible.
Yeah, and just kind of follow up on that, Robert. So, some of us have working relationships with our counterparts in other areas of the state, and we do loan agreements and the like to work through some of our project delivery challenges and to help out then an agency that has a queue of projects that's anxious and ready to deliver. Will these new tools, Danny or Robert or Abhijit, make that process more transparent, such as you'll see early who isn't delivering, you'll see who's got a list, you'll maybe make a recommendation to an MPO, hey, why don't you do a loan agreement with agency X because they've got a dozen projects they're ready to deliver, and you can't, and you're telling us you're not able to deliver, or should we be relying on our old practices of reaching out and just trying to be ahead of it in advance of the OA plans, in advance of the March 15th deadlines, the early April deadlines? Would you rather see it that way? Or are they both potentially going to kind of be available to us?
I say both.
Yeah.
And and the thing is that when we receive the obligation plans, we'll evaluate it and we'll strategize and see exactly what option are going to be available for us to deliver those projects. So when we get all those obligation plans, from the 18 MPO, we'll take a look at it and we'll identify any potential issues or opportunities that we can take and deliver our project. So definitely, and all these are going to be discussed at the meeting that we're going to schedule.
And just a reminder, thank you to our DLA Communications and Training Coordinator for this. In your emails with the email address that you registered for this, you will be able to find both the agenda and the presentation materials, including this presentation. So thank you for that. Also, a couple reminders in chat. We have some links and emails for this presentation if you have any other questions for our presenters. Okay, so to follow up on that previous question from Graham Wadsworth, just to clarify, the request for authorization from local agency is due by July, not that Caltrans HQ will send E76 to the district for local agency.
Yeah, I mean, the process is, LPA submitted to the district, and then district submitted to headquarters, and then headquarters submitted to FHWA. I hope that's clarify it.
Thank you, Robert. Are we ready for the final question panel?
Yeah.
All right. This question from Parviz Chitsazan. At what stage should the PSNE be written when, or at what stage the PSNE should be when requesting for E76 in July?
Well, let's see. So by July, the agency should submit your E76 to the district. So when we talk about PSNE, are we talking about you coming in for a construction authorization, a PE authorization? What type of E76 are we talking about? But, typically by July, your PSNE should be complete. Okay, construction. So, your PSNE should be ready for advertisement in order for you to come in for construction authorization. So if your PSNE is not ready by July, you may be out of luck.
And Robert, I would like to add, like, if there are any other constraints like a right-of-way certification or NEPA or any documentation needed, that also should be cleared if you're going to authorize the right-of-way or the construction for that project.
Absolutely. Yep, that's it. Thank you, Samantha. Sammy.
You're welcome. Thank you, panelists. This was a really wonderful presentation. With that, we are a little bit early for our first break, which was currently scheduled for 9:55. It looks like this is a 10-minute break. So if you all want to go ahead and make sure you're muted, turn off your cameras, we will see you back here in 10 minutes. Welcome back, everybody. That concludes our 10-minute break. So if we could start making our way back to screen. Couple things before we move on to our next presentation. I want to take a moment, since we overlooked reviewing the agenda this morning. I want to look at what we have remaining, and then I'm going to circle back to our previous presenter for a quick announcement. So we just completed our, thank you to our DLA Communication Training Coordinator for sharing screen. Just completed our break. We'll next have a presentation with our OGO office, Local Civil Compliance, and Office of Right-of-Way to discuss our local programs, procedures, our DBE or Disadvantaged Business Enterprises Prompt Payment, Commercial Use Functions, Termination Replacement, as well as Buy America and changes to our Exhibit 13E. Then finally, we're going to close out with Tom O'Brien, our CalTAP Director, with a couple of items, followed by Laura Melendy, from UC Berkeley Tech Transfer, with a brief presentation there. And finally, we'll close out with Rich Murphy and Dee Lamb will be joining us to close out the day. So that's our remaining agenda. Before we move on to our next item, I wanted to make an announcement from Robert Nguyen with our Office of Project Management Oversight, who just led that previous presentation. Their office will be having office hours for the smart sheets that was just discussed, including a Q&A portion. This will take place the second week of April. So Robert will go ahead and drop his contact information, including name and email, in the chat field for us. If you have any questions or would like to attend this Smartsheets office hours with Q&A, please contact Robert so that he can send you the link and you'll be able to attend. With that, go ahead and announce our next presenter. Bob Kim, are you with us? Hi,
I am.
Bob. All right, so Bob, if you and your team want to go ahead and take this away, please feel free anytime to share screen.
All right. Hopefully you can see that. It's just going to be a web page today. I'm not going to have any slides for you. My name is Bob Kim with the Office of Guidance and Oversight, and our office is responsible for updating and deploying changes to the Local Assistance Procedures Manual, the LAPM, and the Local Assistance Procedures Guidelines, the LAPG, and their associated exhibits. So there are about 15 to 20 different authors for the LAPM and the LAPG. So we essentially act as a gatekeeper just to maintain version control for 20 plus chapters and the 100 plus exhibits and forms that are out there. So I just wanted to spend a few minutes this morning going over a specific document called the Local Programs Procedures, the LPP, which has its own webpage here. And this can be accessed on the DLA public website. And it's published once a year, every January. And you can think of it as a companion document for the manual updates that occur once a year, every January. And you can think of them sort of as release notes because it'll document each of the changes that were made to any of the affected chapters. LPPs are numbered according to calendar year and order released, and it has been in existence since 1998. And the archive of all the LPPs are listed on this page. Most of them have links so you can actually see what the changes were. There used to be multiple updates throughout the year, but I think in 2018 it was restricted to just once a year manual update, just to make sure everybody has and is working off a current version. It was too hard to keep track of, I think, in previous years when there were multiple updates throughout the year. So this past January, we published LPP 2301. So all the changes that were made in 2023 calendar year were basically documented and hard-coded and released in January of 2024. So let me kind of just open this document and just kind of walk through it real briefly. And if you have any questions, you can always reach out to me and go through the specific changes. Again, we're not the subject matter experts, so the actual content you would have to reach out to the chapter authors. We again are just kind of codifying and maintaining the current versions of the changes. So when you open the document, it'll have sort of a front page here, and there are essentially two different types of updates that are incorporated. The first one are these office bulletins, which hopefully you're familiar with, that get published throughout the year. Again, they're numbered by calendar year and the order in which they were released. So last year, 2023, there were 4 different office bulletin updates. Now, these updates basically supersede anything that is written in the hard-coded chapters. So, and they affect certain portions, which will always be listed here. So what happens in January of the following year is we take all those changes that were identified and then we physically hard-code it into the chapter so that they're part of the January 2024 edition. And I can go over the office bulletins real briefly right after this, but the other types of changes are minor clarifications or corrections. And if there are any made to the chapters, they'll be listed here, those that are affected. And if you go through the document, you can see, for instance, we'll go through chapter 9. Each chapter will have a description of the changes and the affected section or exhibit. And just for instance here, there was a change made to this definition. And what the LPP document will have is a red line strike through text for any deletions, and with the red margin line on the left, and then blue font signifies new text with a blue margin line on the right. So again, these serve as release notes, and so you should be able to track and see what was deleted, what was added. The only difference between this document and the actual chapter, if you see in chapter 9, is that you'll see the blue text. What you will not see is the red text, because it would be hard to follow the new chapter with a bunch of red strike through. So basically it's just, again, documenting all the changes, hopefully in a manner that makes sense and is easy to follow. And that happens throughout the year. And again, they're hard coded into the January 2024 publication. So I did mention office bulletins, and if you go to the office bulletin webpage, again, accessible from the DLA webpage, they will be listed here. For 2024, we do not have any yet, but there are a couple coming down the pipeline. So these will be announced usually via the blog, so to be able to keep up to date. But we do have an archive of the office bulletins, and the 4 that were mentioned before in the table, they are listed here. So again, we take them off the office bulletin page when they are, again, hard-coded into the chapter. And usually what you'll see when you click on an office bulletin here is this note up here where it says it expires upon issuance of LPP. And so that basically, all that basically says is that when this was issued in October 2023, this supersedes the existing chapter. But in January 2024, these changes will be brought over and carried into the new publication. So a lot to digest maybe in a small amount of time, but if you have any questions, you can always reach out to me personally. I think my email will be listed, or if there's any other questions you guys might have, but that's all I had, Samantha.
Great, thank you, Bob. So we do have one question for you from Jennifer Bianchi. For the recent notification of the open comment period for the DLA Local Programs Procedures 24-01, is this notification requesting any comments we have on the current released LAPM?
Correct. So the open comment period runs from February to July of every year, and will build into the January 2025 update. So yeah, if there's any comments on the existing January 2024 publication, then those can be entered there. And if we do have a formal database in which we collect comments, if you don't have access to that, you can always email your comments to me personally, and we can throw them in the database for you.
Thank you, Bob. And if there are any more questions, please feel free to drop them into the Q&A field. Just a reminder that if we don't answer questions live, of course, we will circle back to these and ensure you get answers sometime after this webinar.
So Bob, that database of comments and how you have responded, is that accessible in the public domain to see?
Yeah, there we can add people, but it is you need an account basically. So we have slowly added agencies to that database to be able to view and add comments. So we can obviously add more. And so if there are agencies that are interested in participating in those reviews, then they can reach out to me, and we can create an account basically. And yeah, we can certainly do that.
Thanks, Bob.
All right, thank you. And if there's no more questions currently, then I think I'm ready to hand this on to our next presenter, Jesus Garcia and Aaron Katubig. If you're ready, please feel free to take it away anytime.
Great, thanks, Amy. Good morning, everyone. So I'm Aaron Katubig. I am the branch chief over the local civil compliance data and oversight branch within Local Assistance, newly formed office to help support the agencies as well as DLA with all of the DBE requirements that we have. So in addition to managing DBE data for local assistance, we also manage compliance over ADA and Title VI. So in today's presentation, I'll briefly provide an update on the forms used for prompt payment and the process to submit them as described in DLA's Office Bulletin 23-02R. So as a quick reminder, per CFR 2629, prime contractors must pay their subcontractors no later than 30 days from receipt of payment from the agency. So the major changes in this prompt payment pertains to the use of exhibits 9F and 9P. These forms are used by the prime contractors and consultants to document and track payments made to their subcontractors. For projects using federal funds that was awarded between March 1st, 2020 through August 31st, 2023, primes must fill out and use the 9F form. For projects using federal funds awarded on or after September 1st, 2023, primes will use the 9P form. These forms can be found in DLA's website under LAPM forms. So going to the next slide here, I do want to discuss a little bit on roles and responsibilities. So as I mentioned, for contracts awarded on or after September 1st, agencies must require the consultants and contractors to use the 9P and not the 9F. Additionally, local agencies must verify all sections of the form are filled in and monitor compliance with the prompt payment requirements. So the information needs to include payments.
Hey, Aaron? Excuse me.
Yes.
Sorry, I don't think you're sharing your slides with us.
Oh, okay. Can you guys see that now?
Now we see slides. Thank you.
I appreciate that, Jesus. Thanks for the quick assist there. So just going back, I just wanted to mention the information that needs to be on the 9P has to include, the DBE subcontractors, the date the payment was received by the prime, date the payments to the subs, payments made to the subs and the date, and of course, information about the contract, such as the contractor's name, agency, and federal project number. I'm actually going to share the form with you if you're not familiar with it here in a second. But I also want to say that, this includes ensuring the contractor submits the 9P to the local agencies administering the contract by the 15th of the month. So we can't keep our agencies in the dark, and following up with that, the agencies can't keep us in the dark. So we ask that they submit these 9P forms to our DBE inbox, which I'll share here in a second. So going quickly to that form, go ahead and share that form real fast. All right. So this is the form, and I just want to make sure, Jesse, if you can give me an assist, that the form's showing up. Thank you, sir. So this is the updated 9P form. It's very similar to the 9F form that you all may be familiar with. There are a few additional columns just for some additional detail that we're looking for. Specifically on the dates the payment was received by the prime, the date of prime payments to the subs, the amounts of the payment, and the amount paid to date. So there's actually about 3 or 4 additional areas to fill in. What we find in my branch to be the most important thing that sometimes can be left out is this information up above. We definitely need to have this information filled out completely so we could ensure proper entry into our database. So that's the 9P form. Going back to the presentation, let me go ahead and switch screens back to that. All right. So the next piece that I do want to go over is the actual process. You should have received a copy of this presentation, so you probably notice it's really clean and easy to read process map. So just to go through this real fast, the prime and the prime contractor and consultants complete and submit the 9P to the LPAs or the local public agencies, who will then verify the information. If there's any information missing, they'll kick that back to the prime. If they accept it, or the agencies accept it, the agencies will send that 9P form directly to the dbe.forms@dot.ca.gov mailbox, in which case my branch will receive it. We'll take that information and then add it to our database. The information that you see on this screen right here are just some quick bullet points as quick reminders for you all as a resource, and additional information regarding this process can be found using or following the link below. Now, I do want to stress before I end this presentation that if you do have any questions regarding any DBE related items, I definitely encourage you to reach out to your Caltrans district DLAE or DBE coordinator. They have a wealth of information. Us being a new office have leaned on them heavily to provide us with some guidance. So shout out to the team out in the districts for the support as of late. This team will be able to answer the majority of your questions. But if you do have anything or questions or comments specifically around prompt payments, don't hesitate to contact me. My email address is listed here, aaron.katubig@dot.ca.gov. Or if there's any additional information or questions that you have for the HQ team, you can contact us at local.compliance.ca.gov. Before I conclude, I did want to give everyone a little bit of what's going to happen in terms of future state of prompt payment. This process that I just shared with you, it's very, it's manual in terms of having to collect and write information on a form. So we are or have met with several prompt payment vendors who can help us automate this process. One of those vendors is a company called B2G Now that I believe many of you can be or are familiar with. So we are hoping to find the right tool for our needs and hopefully implement that tool at or before the beginning of the new federal fiscal year. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and pass it back to Sammy.
Thank you, Aaron. So yes, we did get a couple questions, and we have sent the presenters materials, just a reminder, to your email with which you registered, so you'll be able to access those slides there. Aaron, can you please confirm that 9Fs do not require LPA review and verification since there's no local public agency signature block? Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great question. That information we'll have to get back to you on that. The front of this presentation was focused on the 9Ps, but I owe you that answer, and we should be able to get you that fairly quickly.
Thank you. And this one from Pauline Hill. To be clear, on the 9P, we are only verifying that the form is filled out, not that the payments were made.
Yes, so it's a bit on the honor system, right? So the primes can document, put in the information on the form, and you're tasked as an agency to verify that the information is there. That's why we've identified that as being a gap and looking to have an automated system that has a deeper rooted compliance aspect. So we can hold the primes accountable for providing the correct information.
Thank you, Aaron. And one final question from Adriana Ramirez. For clarification, when automating the form, is the intent to have the primes enter the info directly, or will the local agency be responsible for doing the data entry?
The objective of automating the system is to streamline the process overall. So you are correct. The systems that we have investigated and had meetings with will ensure that the primes put in that information. The way these systems work, thankfully, is that once the primes put in their payment information, the local agencies actually get a notification, as well as local assistance, as well as the subs, to validate whether they did receive that payment or not. So it actually helps a lot with the data entry aspect because we are manually collecting and entering right now. So it actually reduces a lot of workload on our end, but it also is a lot, it's more accurate. It's a more accurate way and a more a better way to hold all parties involved accountable for these payments.
Great, thank you, Aaron. All right, really quick, let me just scan to make sure no more questions. Adriana says thank you. And I just want to confirm, Aaron, is this the end of your presentation, or will Jesus have a piece to move on to?
Yes, yeah. I'll pass it down to you, Jesse.
All right, Jesse, whenever you're ready.
Alrighty, just confirming my screen is visible to you guys. Okay, awesome. Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Jesus Garcia. I go by Jesse. I work alongside Aaron Katubig in the local Civil Compliance Office in the Division of Local Assistance. I'm going to be giving a presentation on some changes and updates to the commercially useful function and termination replacement process for the DBE program for local assistance. So to provide an overview, I'm going to be kind of covering the office bulletin updates that were contained in OB 23-01 that was released in May 2023 and included in the most recent update of the LAPM back in January. These updates contain changes to the process and more clarifications to the process for commercially useful function and termination and replacement. And it also introduced a CUF evaluation form. Now, the purpose of these updates was to respond to an FHWA technical assistance that was issued in 2021. It was also aimed at improving consistency department-wide regarding DBE commercially useful function and termination and replacement processes. And it is aimed at providing increased clarity on how to verify CUF and how to properly terminate and replace a DBE on a project. So to summarize the changes that are associated with these two processes, so for commercially useful functions, the changes allows local public agencies to identify issues earlier in the project and reduces the risks of having funds withheld by Caltrans. It also outlines a timeline for when CUF evaluations are required throughout the process. And as mentioned, it created a new form, the 9J, that is to be filled out by the prime and verified by the local agencies regarding commercially useful functions for the DBEs. And for the changes to the termination and replacement process, the updates outline a timeline and steps for the termination and replacement process. Kind of gives you exact, timeframes, days associated with when things are supposed to be handled. Primes must make, it also outlines that primes must make good faith efforts, or GFEs, to find qualified DBEs to replace the terminated DBEs with. And it also ensures that primes work with their LPAs very closely to make sure that there's no surprises and that everybody is in compliance. When it comes to the actual LAPM document, I just want to kind of outline some of the changes that were made in regards to, the DBE, CUF, and termination and replacement process. So we updated the 9.7 sections, which is the DBE participation on a contract, 9.8, which covers good faith efforts, and 16.9, which is a DBE subsection. The changes that were impacted by this office bulletin are the 10R, which is the A&E boilerplate language, the 12G, which is the DBE subsection, and as mentioned, the 9J, which was introduced in the office bulletin. That was just a quick summary of the process. We have much more resources available for local public agencies, and just wanted to reiterate what Aaron said about local public agencies reaching out to their DBE coordinators for any questions regarding DBE. Us here in headquarters, we work with our districts very closely to support them. And depending on your district, you have your district DBE coordinator to contact. We also are working on updating and pushing out more resources. As mentioned, Aaron shared that we are a newly established office, and we are working on, getting local public agencies more resources, more tools, which are going to be available on our external LCC website, which is linked below. And yep, that is my presentation, and happy to take any questions.
Great, thank you, Jesse. So if this from Jennifer Bianchi, if we already have the B2G system in place, will there be duplication of effort?
Good question. I'm not sure. Aaron, can you help out on that? Does the B2G cover the cuff and termination and replacement?
Yeah, so that's a great question, Jennifer. So one of the modules that we are looking into in all of the vendors that we've looked at is a more comprehensive tool. So these like the cuff evaluations, it's a different module, but we are looking to purchase this package as a whole. So yes, to answer your question, yes, when we do decide to go with a certain product, it will have an automated version of these cuff functionality or the cuff process also.
Can I chime in real quick? My name is Pauline Valenzuela. I'm the Office Chief of Local Civil Compliance. Aaron, the question was, if we already have a BTG system in place, will there be a duplication in effort? So I don't know if it's related to cuff for termination as much as just if they already have one, like if they're using for something else, will there be a for part of Caltrans? But there shouldn't be a duplication in effort, right? It'll just be an additional component.
I see. Sorry, I misunderstood that question. If we do go with B2G now, which is like the likely choice because of the everyone's using it essentially, there shouldn't be an issue having any duplication of efforts. The same processes will still be in play. It's just instead of managing your existing projects through B2G now, we're adding another layer with the projects that are federally funded from the local agencies as well. So in terms of having to learn a new system, we definitely want to try to avoid that. But if you are currently using B2G now, I could guarantee you you're a step ahead of the game right now.
Great, thank you, panelists. Ready for the next question? So this one from Alistair Powell. Does the 9J apply to non-architectural and engineering or A&E contracts?
Good question. I think we'd have to get back to you on that one, right, Pauline? I think the commercially useful function form, I'm not sure if it applies to those types of contracts, but we can definitely circle back on that one.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Let me take a quick look.
Great, thank you. So of course, our DLA training and communication coordinator, as promised, will mark this question and we will circle back if we're unable to answer any live. Next question from Alexia Spivey. We are a local agency that uses B2G now. Currently, our FTA CUF or CUFs are done electronically through B2G now. Sorry about that. Will you be automating the CUF form through B2G now, since currently the Caltrans CUF is a manual process?
Yeah, I could speak to that a little bit here. So yes, the reason why we're going with these type of system is to not necessarily eliminate all of the manual entry or the forms that we have, but it's just to help automate the ones that we use more frequently. I've already submitted a copy of our existing CUF forms to these vendors to see if they can implement them into their system and how smoothly that can happen. So to answer your question fairly quickly, yes, we are looking to automate that form as well, and integrate that into the system.
Thank you. This next one from Jack Abcarius. Does this termination and replacement process also apply to a DBE firm that decides to bow out because it took too long, say well over 18 months, between the interview time and the actual notification of selection?
Yeah, I don't believe so. The termination and replacement process that I was just presenting on is after an executed contract. So no.
Thank you. And last question here. Isao Blanco and other inquiring minds want to know, can you briefly explain B2G?
Yeah, so at a high level, B2G is one of many companies out there that work in the realm of compliance for DBE. And what it does for what we are looking for in a product is a way to automate a lot of the entry that both primes and local agencies are doing with the prompt payment forms, the CUP forms, and ultimately take that information and hold that into a database where all the parties involved, from the primes, the subs, to the local agencies, and us here in local assistance, have that information readily available and can pull to help for compliance purposes, validation purposes, and most importantly, reporting purposes for FHWA. So it just helps eliminate or reduce a lot of the manual effort involved in validating payments, validating CUFs, and just, it simplifies the entire process. It's a great way for ensuring that all parties involved are speaking the same languages, so we understand what the left hand and right hand are doing at the same time. Currently, right now, are we doing that? Yes. Is it a bit cumbersome in the way we're doing it? Maybe. So this, the objective of procuring this system is to, alleviate some of that and make things easier for everyone. Hope that answers your question.
And we do have one more question on the CUF related to CUFs. Again, from Jennifer Bianchi. Can you provide guidance on the timing of the quarterly CUFs using an example? Initial CUFs were completed for 2 DBEs, one in January and one in March. When would the subsequent quarterly CUFs be due?
Thank you, Sam. Can you repeat that? I'm trying to find that question. Is it written?
Absolutely, it is written. Jennifer Bianchi. Can you provide guidance on the timing of the quarterly CUFs using an example? Initial CUFs were completed for 2 DBEs, one in January, one in March. When would the subsequent quarterly CUFs be due?
Right. So according to the guidance that we put out, so it's going to be quarterly by the 5th of the month after the initial CUFs or the CUF evaluation was submitted. So, 3 months after whenever it was initially evaluated, whenever the CUF was initially evaluated, quarterly after that. So, for those 2 ones, it would be 3 months after. A little on the spot, but 3 months after that. So, but yeah, if there's any other questions, Jennifer, hopefully I answered that. Please let me know if you need any further clarification.
Really appreciate it, Jesse. Thank you for taking that one on the fly. And I'm not seeing any other, questions trickle in, but again, please feel free to drop them in at any time. I'll do my best to sift through them. I'm sure we ask questions related to the current presentation. Any that we don't get to, we'll circle back.
Tammy, can I interrupt real quick?
Please, yes.
Sure. Again, I just wanted to clarify, there were a couple. B2G Now is also the system that we use, or that Office of Civil Rights uses to certify their, to search for certified DBEs. So you're all experiencing it when you're going into our CUCP system to find certified DBEs. That's a B2G Now system also, but their component that they're using it for is for certification, where we'll use it for compliance and for monitoring prompt payment and for other tools for it. So I just wanted to point that out. And the second thing is just, I know we're having to come back, and follow up with some and not having the answers right on the spot. We're a brand new office, Jesse and Aaron, have been on, just for a few months, not, so we're all learning. And so we will find those answers for you and get back to you, but just to be a little patient. We're a new office and new team, and it's a lot to learn for DBE, but we're getting there, and we will get back to you with those responses.
Thanks for that bit, Pauline. I think it's always helpful for us all to remember we're all humans, we're all working together, we all have the same goals. So you and your team are doing great, and thank you for serving our customers and doing your best to get them these responses.
Thank you.
All right, one more quick. I don't see any more questions, so I'm going to go ahead and close this item out unless the panelists have anything else to add. No, okay, with that, Gurmai Bayeni, I would like to invite you, please. It looks like you're ready to go, share screen and move on to our next item for Buy America whenever you're ready.
All right, thank you, Sammy. Let me share my screen. Okay, can you see my screen?
You were seeing the webpage for construction
Okay,
oversight
yeah.
program.
So yeah, I'm just gonna be sharing our webpage here. This is the construction oversight program webpage. So I'm Gurmai, I'm the construction oversight program manager. So this is the webpage. You can see some information here, easy accessible for construction related activities. This is the construction oversight program. This is what we do. We do mainly project reviews, and we provide the guidance, training. And this is our team here. We have construction oversight engineers assigned to different geographic areas. Any construction, contract administration related questions, you can reach out directly to the COEs or to your DLAs, or you can directly contact me. So for today, the presentation is based on Buy America updates. So I'm just gonna show you some information, where to find information on our website related to Buy America. So we have 2 links here. I want to have your attention here. This is the FAQs, frequently asked questions. The first link here, it was posted here late 2022 based on the preliminary guidance of the Buy America, Build America. And then we have another one here, which was posted late last year based on the final guidance. So most of your questions most likely will be in here. If we can, and then more information is here also. In January, we had an open office hour on Buy America. That session was recorded, it's posted in here. We have also another open office hour on construction contract standards. You can access those information in here. And we have one coming in on March 18. We'll have another open office hour on Buy America. So we'll have experts from Federal Highways and Caltrans Division of Local Assistance. So you should be able to, if you cannot get your responses to your questions on this FAQs, and you can attend our session, access the recorded session here. If not, contact our construction oversight engineers, listed here, assigned to different geographic areas. Also, we had a presentation last local assistant webinar in November that should be shared with you, so you can also refer to that. So this is all I have for today. If you guys have any questions, you can reach out. Feel free to reach out to us.
Thank you, Gurmai. And if you could, when you get an opportunity, please drop your contact information in the chat field for attendees so that they can reach out to you with questions if needed. I'm not seeing any currently in the Q&A. So if we do get any, we'll forward them your way. But with that, Gurmai, did you have anything to add before we move on to the next item?
No, I just want to thank everyone, but feel free to contact us. Either this oversight engineers are assigned to different geographic areas. Our contact information is on the website, and we have important information on the website. So the link should be, I think Sherry is gonna share the link to our website. So feel free to check our website and contact us for any questions. Thank you, Sammy.
Great, and Gurmai, you actually did have one come in, so
Okay.
Why we take our time transitioning between items a little bit. So 13B mentions the inclusion of Buy America compliance language in utility agreements. Where can we find this language?
13B. I may have to get back to you to this one. I have to refer back. Yeah.
Okay, great. And another question from Abdel Nasser. Does the 2023 Caltrans standard specification include the most recent Buy America requirements?
Yes. So either the 2023 Caltrans specification or 12G, Exhibit 12G should have all the recent Buy America updates also.
Wonderful. Thank you, Gurmai.
Thank you. Okay.
All right. I don't see any more questions coming in our Q&A field. So thank you so much for your presentation. Again, please be on the lookout for Gurmai Bayani's contact information in the chat field. And if you have any questions for him, feel free to reach out. With that, Nady Pinuelas with the Office of Right-of-Way will be presenting to us on Exhibit 13E. Nady, whenever you're ready, please feel free to share your screen.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I am Nady Pinuelas, Office Chief for Division of Local Assistance, Office of Local Right-of-Way. I'm going to be discussing the preliminary engineering right-of-way checklist form, which was released November of 2023, last year. So with that, let me go ahead. Sorry, I'm missing. Okay, what is the intent of the preliminary engineering right-of-way form? The intent of the Exhibit 13E is to assist the local public agencies in identifying potential right-of-way issues early in the project. It will put the district local assistance engineers and the district's Caltrans right-of-way local programs coordinators on notice early in the process to identify potential right-of-way involvement on federally funded projects. Also, Exhibit 13E will alert non-qualified local public agencies and Caltrans staff of the local public agencies need to hire right-of-way consultants and to take that into consideration when setting the delivery schedule. If there are anticipated right-of-way issues that arise during the right-of-way phase, there should be time to correct any deficiencies to avoid delays in certifying the project. In addition, the preliminary engineering right-of-way checklist will allow Caltrans staff to do real-time monitoring. This real-time approach allows oversight to be performed earlier and more often to cure any deficiencies earlier in the right-of-way phase. Okay, what was the preliminary checklist form developed? Why was it developed? Okay, let me go back. Okay, it was developed to avoid project delays and loss of federal funding. The local public agencies projects by engaging district right-of-way local programs coordinators earlier in the project. So the earlier you engage your right-of-way local programs coordinator, the better it is for the projects to avoid any delays in the project and certifying the project itself. As a result, as a result of two recent FHWA project reviews, this is what can occur to the changes to the oversight policy and procedure for implementing, requiring the completion of real-time monitoring and oversight of local public agencies' right-of-way activities, thus allowing for adequate time to correct non-compliant deficiencies prior to moving on to subsequent right-of-way activities and ultimately project certification. So when appraisal is done, the district right-of-way local program coordinators are involved, and they can, after that's done, it's reviewed by the coordinator, then they can move on to the acquisition and then relocation and so on and so on. So this process requires earlier district engagement and collaboration with the local public agencies. So the 13E as well is to be collected by the district local assistance engineers, and then they will forward this form on to the right-of-way district's local program unit. So Exhibit 13E is to be submitted during the preliminary studies. The preliminary engineering right-of-way checklist and the PES form, which is preliminary environmental study form, Exhibit 6A may be submitted together or separately as each is completed, but it is required to be submitted. A little background on how this form came about. A task force was formed back in 2021. So this was in everyone's mind to how can we better capture any right-of-way activities earlier on. So it was the preliminary engineering right-of-way form was developed then in collaboration with the local public agencies. So District 10 was a pilot district that took this on. The district local assistance engineers, along with the right-of-way local programs coordinators, conducted this pilot jointly with their local public agencies in that area. And it was conducted from November of 2022 to July of 2023. So after this pilot was conducted, the local public agencies involved agreed that the preliminary engineering right-of-way checklist assisted them in identifying any potential right-of-way conflicts early in the project. So when that was done, Exhibit 13E was implemented for all federally funded projects, November of 2023. There was also a frequently asked questions that was also created, and that could be found in the local right-of-way internet page or by contacting your DLEE or district right-of-way local programs coordinator. Since this form was released, the task force or the team decided that some improvements could be done to the Exhibit 13E, and that will be coming out soon. So just a reminder, always use the most current Caltrans forms that are available. So with that, right-of-way contact, this is my contact. If you have any questions, you can contact me. If you need to get a hold of your district right-of-way local programs coordinator, just send an email to rightofway@dot.ca.gov and our local assistance page. It's posted there as well. And that was quick
Thank you.
presentation on the form. So go ahead, Sammy, back to you.
Whenever you get a moment, no rush here, but if you could drop your contact information in the chat for the attendees. Graham, I see your test in the Q&A section, so just confirming that it is working. The next question from Mohit Chowdhury. Does the local agency need to get revalidated if the right-of-way certs when it comes to submit E76 for construction phase? If so, what is the time limit for the approved right-of-way cert?
I'm sorry, do they need to get re-evaluated?
Yeah, I can repeat
sorry.
I'm sorry, I stumbled a little bit on it. So does the local agency need to get revalidated? I think it's supposed to say for the right-of-way certs when it comes to submit the E76 for the construction phase, part one of the question.
Okay, I will have to get back to you on that. Usually the local agencies should be already qualified, but maybe that's something different. I will get back to you with regards to that question.
Next question from Solomon Tegegni. When should the local agencies submit Exhibit 13E? Is NEPA clearance a requirement prior to submitting it?
It's as early as possible. So we said at the preliminary studies. So when the PES is going to be submitted, at that time, you want to already submit the preliminary engineering right-of-way form. I understand that sometimes the one is done beforehand. So as early as possible, that way you can get your right-of-way local programs coordinator engaged as early as possible in the project. Thank you.
And it looks like we have one final question on this item. Do the local agencies need to submit the form for projects that have been in the right of way or already in the works? And then in parentheses, prior to November 2023.
No, this is all for new projects that are coming along.
Great, thank you. It looks like those are all the questions we have for you, Nady. Please feel free to continue dropping questions in the chat if they arise. We do have raised hands, so I don't know who needs to unmute, but could we please unmute Joshua Fernando? It looks like he has a question. Okay, I saw the hand go down, so Joshua, do you have a question or are you able to unmute yourself? Okay, Gurmai, go ahead.
So adding information on Buy America language, there was a question. So Buy America language can be found on Chapter 12 of the Local Assistance Procedures Manual, specifically Exhibit 12G. We have the latest Buy America language, or for agencies using Caltrans spec, they can refer to the latest Caltrans standard specifications. They should have the latest Buy America language. I just want to clarify that. Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you, Gurmai. Okay, we had another question come in for you, Nady. After 13E submittal, does local agency receive an approval of 13E?
The 13E can be, if the scope changes, that needs to be resubmitted. So there's no approval process. It's really just to notify the right-of-way staff that there's a project coming. And if there potentially might be right-of-way involved. So, and if there is, we need to get the coordinator involved as early as possible. So that way, when it comes to certification, there's no delays. There's no back and forth, or if we need to redo something, an appraisal or acquisition, anything like that. We don't have any delays. We want to be able to move the project along without any delays at all. So there is no certificate. The local public agencies that sign for it, it goes to the right-of-way staff. The DLE also gets it. But no, it doesn't go back where like an approval stamp or anything. Nothing like that happens.
Great, thank you, Nady. Looks like that's the end of our questions. Did you have anything to add before we close out this item?
I'm just kind of curious if I could, Sammy, just, for those smaller local agencies that have, new staff, not familiar with federal aid projects, what message do you send to them in terms of picking up sort of this material and getting up to speed, or are there other broader suggestions in terms of having outside consultants or agreements with other local agencies that are very well attuned to these federal aid procedures? I mean, what does local assistance say when that person who picks up the phone, who's tasked to deliver a federal aid job, completely unfamiliar? I mean, I know the LAPM walks you through it and it does it very effectively, but are there other creative ways for smaller entities to have success on project delivery and implementation that you've seen? Who am I putting that question to? I guess just generally speaking. And maybe that's a question for the local district staff in terms of their engagement with the local agencies, sort of the boots on the ground situation. So I'm just putting that out there, I guess, rhetorically.
Yeah, I want to say for right-of-way, if any local agencies need some specific kind of training or anything to help their agencies move this project along for the right-of-way phase or anything like that, our office, this is a new office too, just to under local assistance, Office of Local Right-of-Way. We do have a division of right-of-way, and the district right-of-way folks do work with the local agencies as well. But our office was developed here to really assist the local agencies. So if there's any specific kind of type of training that the local agencies need, please send me an email and then we can work on developing something like that for you guys.
Thanks, Nady.
Great, thank you, thank you. So we did have some more questions come in, Nady. Sorry. From Sudi Shoja, if projects have not been submitted right-of-way certifications, do they need to submit Exhibit 13E?
How long is it? Oh, okay. So the 13E, it's for early engagement of right-of-way folks to be involved in these projects. So I'm not sure how long you are for this project, but if you haven't engaged your right-of-way contact in the district, it'll be good to maybe to go ahead and do so. But this is done at the early stage. This form is done right when you're doing the PASS form, the environmental study form. So this is right in the beginning of the project. That's when you submit this form.
Right. And the next question from Susan Yepitz. Is 13E form required for all new federally funded projects, and as of what date?
Yes. So, well, this form just came out November of 2023. So any new project that you have that is federally funded and you're going to start on this and the preliminary, and you're going to start on the preliminary studies or submit the PES form, you're going to go ahead and submit this 13E as well.
Great, thank you. And final question we have for you in the Q&A. This is actually for a previous presentation. Sorry about that. So for specific, for questions on previous presentations, we will send out a contact list following the presentation. All right, Nady, I think those are all the questions we have for you. Did you want to add anything else?
Maybe if I can share it where the FAQs, I think that was something that was asked before. So let me go ahead and share the website really quick. So can everyone see that? Okay, so it will be, the FAQs will be under this tab, local right-of-way. And right here, preliminary engineering right-of-way, frequently asked questions. So any questions that we had got when we were doing the pilot or any other questions from the districts, we went ahead and put them in this 4-page Word document.
Great.
Okay.
One more for you. They are rolling in. Solomon, or two more from Solomon Tegegni or Tegegni. Is 13E required for a project current, is 13E required for a project current right-of-way is almost halfway?
No.
And then a second part to that question, is 13E required for project current right-of-way is almost halfway and appraisal is already complete?
No. I'm sure by that time you already are engaging with the district right-of-way coordinator. So the form is just to engage the coordinator early in the project instead of when the right-of-way phase comes.
Thank you. And from Anika, to whom do we submit the 13E?
To your district local assistance engineer.
All right, thank you. And just a reminder, those DLAE contacts were previously dropped in the chat and will be dropped again for you in case you need your local area engineer contact. Okay, it looks like questions are slowing down with that. Nady, thank you so much for your presentation and taking your time for Q&A. Next up, we have Daniel Burke with Caltrans DLA. Daniel, whenever you're ready, please feel free to take it over.
Hey, thank you, Samantha, and thank you everybody here for joining us today. I hope everybody's familiar with the Build America, Build a Better Mousetrap competition that is hosted by our partners at the United States Department of Transportation, Federal Highway Administration. So this competition recognizes municipalities, so local public agencies that are cities, counties, and also tribes for developing innovations. And this is not only singled out to innovations that are funded with state and federal funds, but also some common maintenance problems that your agency might have and may have an innovative solution that will help to reduce costs or make efficiencies so it takes less time to perform the work. Such as our last year's winner of the 2023 Pioneer Award, the city of Walnut Creek, and their safe sightings of signs and signals. Talk a little bit more about it. I'm going to hand things over to Tom, but before I do, we do endeavor to host another Lunch and Learn training sometime in April 2024 to walk interested parties through the process of completing the registration on the website, which is the Bright Idea website, and to perform some of the submission, to perform how to complete some of the submission data onto that form as well. So I'm going to go ahead and have Samantha introduce Tom O'Brien at the California Local Technical Assistance Program Center. Take it away, Samantha.
Thank you, Daniel. So with that, we have Tom O'Brien from LTAP or CalTAP, our director. Tom, whenever you're ready, please go ahead and mute yourself and present.
Thank you, Sammy, and thank you, Daniel. And I'd like to wish everybody a happy Local Assistance Day. As Daniel said, I have the fun job of introducing to you the Build a Better Mousetrap program to highlight innovation within California, but at the national level as well. And this is an exciting program. Last year, when we were presenting to you, we did not have a California winner. And so we're really excited to come back today and talk about a program that's generated some results for us here in the state. The Build a Better Mousetrap competition, as Daniel said, celebrates local innovation for transportation agencies, whether they be at the local level, at the state level, at the district level, or within tribal communities. And it's a program that recognizes innovation in tool or equipment modifications, new processes that increase safety, reduce costs, and improve transportation system efficiency. And also, as Daniel said, this is a national program run through the Local and Tribal Technical Assistance Program through Federal Highway Administration, which has units in each of the 50 states and Puerto Rico. But the competitions are run initially through each of the states. And in California, those of us at the California Local Technical Assistance Program Center manage the competition in partnership with the Division of Local Assistance and DRI-SI. We promote the winners and the nominees here within the state, and then the winners advance to a national competition. And that link there at the bottom of this slide will take you to the program at the national level, where you can access the list of 2024 winners, which is shown to you as well on this slide. The competition is open to all California transportation agencies. As I mentioned, that could be state, local, or tribal. Applications can also be submitted by districts within Caltrans. It's a fairly simple online application process. We've tried to streamline, again, in partnership with DRI-SI. It essentially asks you to summarize what your innovation is. What's the problem you identified? How did you solve it? What was your approach? What were the outcomes? Savings in terms of money or cost or efficiency? What was the benefit to your agency and the communities that you serve? And the innovations are organized into four different categories. an innovative project, something that reflects a bold step that thinks outside of the box and takes risks in the service of program delivery, smart transformations, and pioneers, which is a new product or tool that's the first to solve a problem with a homegrown solution. The submission deadline is May 15th, so there is still time. But if you have any questions, we're happy to walk you through the process. So there's no reason to wait if you have an idea in mind. The winners receive free LTAP training that we facilitate for you through the CalTAP Center. And we will facilitate getting your package ready for submission to the Federal Highway Administration. I will say we do accept applications on an ongoing basis. So, you know, it actually helps us to work with you to massage a nomination or an application to make it as competitive as possible. But the deadline for this year's competition is May 15th. As Daniel mentioned, this is the this will be the third year that we are taking part in the national competition. And already in year 2, last year, we had a winner in the Pioneer category from Walnut Creek. It was submitted by an associate traffic engineer, Matthew, as you can see here in the left-hand side of the picture. The challenge that Walnut Creek identified was trying to simplify checking the city's 100+ intersections for proper traffic signal sight distances. And what Matthew and team figured out was that if they use a dash-mounted smartphone to capture video while they were doing windshield assessments, they could validate signal imagery in a way that was a lot more efficient and take a lot less time with fewer people. And the innovation was something that they referred to as the safe sightings and signs and signals. And it clearly resonated with the reviewers at the state level, but also the national level as well. Oops. We would love to have another representative from California this year claim one of the prizes in one of the 4 categories. And again, it is easy to apply. Submit a link and you can access this information through the CalTAP website. Just need to register for a login through the Innovations website portal. We can work with you to make sure that it's got a catchy title and an effective description. We learned a lot this past year by having a winning entry. We look for projects that have impact through images or videos that will tell the story in a compelling way. And as I said, we're happy to shepherd you through this process. The winners are announced at the National, Local, and Tribal Technical Assistance Program Association annual meeting in the summer. And then we were able to visit Walnut Creek in person to recognize the staff who were involved in the project before city manager, elected officials, council members. So it's a good way to elevate the work that's being done by local, state, and tribal governments with the people who don't always see the work behind the scenes. It's a really, really good program. Scott Jakovich, who was on the webinar today, who's the program manager for the California Local Technical Assistance Program Center, is our point person for Build a Better Mousetrap, and his contact information is here in case you'd like to reach out. And if you have an idea about something that could be submitted but aren't sure what to do or whether it's a good fit, we're happy to have that conversation with you because we want to submit as many competitive applications as possible. So with that, I'm going to pause. I want to talk a little bit about the LTAP Center in general in a minute, but I want to see if there are any questions in particular about Build a Better Mousetrap.
So we do have one question from Jap Abkarius. Does the local agency have to apply, or can a consultant apply for this program?
A consultant can apply, but I believe it's better if we do it through the local agency, and we're happy to work with both.
And Tom, just to add on to your comment, it really is necessary for the Build a Better Mousetrap innovation to benefit a city, county, or tribe. So we want to make sure that it covers those areas as well.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, and which is why I think it's better if the application come directly through the local agency.
Looks like that is the only question we've received in chat on this item, Tom. Did you have anything on this item before we move to the next?
I am okay. Again, but if questions do come up after the fact, you've got Scott's email, and in a moment I'll be sharing with you the link to our website for CalTAP, and you can always reach out for more information that way. So I wanted to take a few minutes before I hand it back to Sammy to talk a little bit about the California Local Technical Assistance Program Center. Since the Build a Better Mousetrap program is really only a portion of what we do. The CalTAP Center is based at the Center for International Trade and Transportation at Cal State Long Beach. That's where our team is based. But we work very closely with the other partners that serve local government and local agencies through the Division of Local Assistance, including partners in other universities, including ITS Berkeley, who you'll hear from next, Laura Melendi. Our mission, excuse me, is to meet the needs, excuse me, the wide-ranging needs of underserved and disengaged small rural and tribal communities. If you go to our website, caltap.org, you'll find a one-stop shop to access comprehensive subsidized training or free training that's offered here in California or through our partners in the Federal Highway Administration. You're able to search courses by topic. A range of those are included here. As an example, we have what I think is a handy, user-friendly, viewable calendar where you can search for the next available training, which I think is very helpful. And you're also able to access, though, individual course descriptions and details. You can subscribe via the CalTAP website to get our regular e-blasts, which always highlight the training calendar, as well as other news items that are relevant to local governments, state governments, tribal governments with regard to technical assistance. One of the series of courses that we're in the middle of offering right now is the Sustainable Engineering Training Academy. It's a collection of 7 different courses that we've been piloting this year with an eye toward refining and then relaunching again within the coming year. We just completed the 4th of our 7 courses. So the first was on environmental impacts of construction, the second on fugitive dust mitigation, courses on GHG emission and mitigation and construction, and then renewable energy and sustainable design. Upcoming classes will be focusing on green buildings and net zero structures, commercial building, energy management, and structural health monitoring. And these are all designed to work together to provide valuable information and training for transportation and construction engineering communities. And that does include the consultant partners. The courses do not have to be taken in lockstep. You can register for an individual course, but our goal is to sort of put together a series of what would be the equivalent of stackable credentials that in total prepare the transportation and construction engineering communities with the skills that they need to ensure that they're compliant with sustainable engineering guidelines. The prior courses that were completed are accessible via the CalTAP YouTube channel, which is linked here. We also, as I said, are our portal to other training offered by organizations like the American Association of State and Highway Transportation Officials, National Highway Institute, and the Federal Highway Administration. Many of these are self-paced online learning opportunities from accredited providers. And again, we hope to make it easier for you to access these instead of having to go search the catalog through all of the individual websites. And we also will occasionally make information available on courses that are offered through the other LTAPs in the other states. And if open seats are available, we can certainly work on your behalf to get you into an open seat. Professional development hours, continuing ed units are available for many of these. You can access that information through the website. And again, these in particular are free to local agencies. So watch and stay tuned for more information for all of these programs. And with that, I would like to see if there are any other questions that came in about CalTAP in particular and what we do.
We haven't received any questions in the Q&A as of yet, Tom.
Okay.
I can apprise you if anything comes in the chat, and of course, we'll circle back to these questions if we don't have the opportunity to answer them. Is there anything you'd like to add before we move to our final presenter?
I wouldn't. That's fine. I appreciate the opportunity to speak about the program. Reach out to us with any questions or any ideas for additional trainings that you'd like to see that you haven't been able to access elsewhere. And we're happy to look at either finding a potential provider or even building into our own work plan. So with that, I'll pass it back to you, Sammy, and thank you. And my apologies for my little my coughing fit there. We got through it.
It's always inconvenient when our bodies don't comply, right? So thank you so much, Tom. And our final presenter for the day, Laura Melendi, whenever you're ready to speak to us about UC Berkeley tech transfers, please feel free to unmute yourself and take it away.
Okay, very good. I should be sharing a screen right now. Nod, Sammy, if my screen is shared. Yes?
Yes,
okay, very
good.
The second thing I want to do is I'm going to put a website in the chat box. It is the tech transfer website that I'm going to be talking to you about today. I would be delighted to have you folks explore the website while I am talking. There is no need to be looking at me or the not so fancy slides. I'd much rather see you, scanning the most current information. You'll know you hit the right place when you see this very humble tagline that my program uses. We'll see if by the end of the presentation you agree or disagree, but it is what it is. So I'm Laura Melendi. I am the Assistant Director at the Institute of Transportation Studies at UC Berkeley. I work with all of our research centers. And as we opened today's session at 9 o'clock this morning, and I saw hundreds of names and agencies scrolling by, I saw lots of folks that we've worked with in the past. I've seen lots of folks that have taken our training. I've recognized some of our instructors in attendance. So even though I'm looking at a Zoom screen, I feel like I am among friends here. So that feels really good. I'm visiting you today in my role as the Director of Tech Transfer. And in this role, I've spent over 20 years at Berkeley working on, just dedicated to moving research results and best practices into standard practice trying to make sure that all of you have, you know, the best information you can have so that you can apply innovation and best practices to improve transportation delivery. And we've been doing this in partnership with local assistants for decades. So my presentation will have two acronyms. The first one is CTAP. CTAP is the Cooperative Training Assistance Program. We've been working in partnership with Caltrans Division of Local Assistance, delivering CTAP training for over 35 years. And in that time, we have delivered some thousands of classes, and we have trained many thousands of people. And for those of you that are familiar with us, I thought I would at least tell you what kind of who we are behind the scenes. I think people are always surprised to know that our team is only 7 full-time people. Our team of staff is, I say, small but mighty. Staff expertise includes knowledge and experience in instructional design and development, training delivery, web-based and classroom-based training, workshop and conference management, event logistics, and planning for events in any size in any location. We do that with just a few core full-time people. But what makes the program really special is that our team of subject matter experts is really large and diverse. Our subject matter experts come from academia, government, and private practice. We rely on them to plan curricula, develop the training, teach the courses, and advise on program content. So we have, like I said, some of you are actually in attendance today. So I thank you as my subject matter experts that are out there. So the statement I just want to make is that I realized that my slides had jumped ahead. Sorry, I'm working on 2 monitors and I didn't see that. So I was talking about our people and places and that our classes are everywhere that you are. So the next thing I want to do is I want to talk a little bit about the topics of our training. And so I thought it would be fun that in the chat box, if you've ever taken a class from Tech Transfer, could you just maybe type the topic? Not the full course title, just give me, start putting topics into the chat box so that we can start to see just the variety of classes that people have taken. Tech Transfer was actually established by an act of the legislature in 1947 to aid in post-World War II era deferred maintenance on the infrastructure and on expansion of the transportation system. Now we focus much more on innovations in transportation, which are coming at us about as fast as we can all absorb them and apply them. So we really do exist to help with that exchange of information and get you what you need to deliver the things that we've all committed to, right? The maintenance of a safe, efficient, equitable, state-of-the-art transportation system. And I love seeing all these chats coming in. This is fantastic. I see signals, I see pavements, bikes. Oh, we're going to talk about pavements in a minute. Planning topics, so all kinds of stuff. Our offerings span planning and policy, engineering, project development, infrastructure design, maintenance, safety, environmental issues for motorized and non-motorized roadway traffic. We have some very specialized classes in aviation and rail. And now I'm going to tell you a little bit. Oh man, I see my slides are jumping around. I did it again. I think it's because of these multiple screens. Okay. What I want to tell you, what I have on the screen at the moment is the schedule of short courses that we offer. So this is what people know us for, and it is what most of you have seen and you can find on our website. This particular list of short courses was pulled January 31st. So it's not perfectly current. On our website, the full list of classes is there. The comment I really want to make about this is that we post courses on a continuous basis. So getting a monthly email from us is a great way to know what else we've posted recently. The other thing is to scroll down in your monthly LTAP newsletter. The DLA blog that comes out monthly. We usually have a few courses in there. There's always something Okay, I see why it's jumping around. Try to keep my eyes on it. I think it's on an autoplay is what the problem is. Okay, sorry, I'll get a grip on that. Anyway, join our mailing list. Also, if you have locations where you are interested in having classes, let us know, because the open enrollment classes that we put around the state, we do that in response to demand. So if we have a class on the schedule and it's not convenient for you, send us a note, ask us when it's going to be near you. If there's something that you think a group of people need, let us know. We make decisions based on what we hear from local agencies. Okay. One of the things I don't know if you all know about, but we are very proud of and have been doing for many years, is our work zone safety training. We initially launched work zone safety training in 1978. This training has been provided to over 70,000 field crew, inspectors, engineers, and managers. So on this particular topic, we are absolutely the leading provider in the state. Tens of thousands of people trained. We've done up to 60 classes a year. And the key to this is that we do these classes as open enrollment, meaning we post them on the website and anybody can register. But the preponderance of deliveries of this class we do on demand. You host them, right? A local agency contacts us and we bring the class to you. And the thing about this is, we can train an entire crew at one time at your location. So if those of you on the call in local agencies, please let your crew chiefs know that this exists, that we can come and we can do this. Right. The next thing I just want to mention is the live online training. We initially did very little of this pre-COVID. When COVID came, it changed everything for all of us, and we quickly converted as much as we could to online delivery. Initially, we thought of it as a temporary substitute because people generally like getting out of their normal environment for training, being face-to-face for instruction, and meeting and connecting with other participants. However, we soon learned that online training actually fit everyone's training budget and availability better. It made training more affordable, more accessible, and we all learned that it's still possible to connect with the instructor and with fellow participants. So live online training has now become our preferred method for training over in person. So we are, anytime we're developing new classes or have the opportunity to, trying to do it online is what we're going to go for first. Okay. Now, something super exciting. This is new for us. We have just introduced our first self-paced online training. And when I say just, I mean in February. So what you're seeing here is a screenshot of our very first self-paced online training course. It is pavement preservation construction inspection. We have a second one online. It is construction inspection of asphalt, rubber, pavement materials. You're going to see us rolling out at least 3 more self-paced online classes in pavement within the next couple of months, probably by the end of June. So we'll have at least 5 by the end of June. We have about 10 to 12 more coming over the next 10 to 12 months. So these are classes where you log in, there's something to read, there's video to watch, there's a quiz to take. And that is not what I wanted those slides to do. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing for a moment. Okay, so the online training is available. You take a class, you take a module, you read, you do video, you take a quiz, you go to the next module. At the end, there's a finishing quiz, and when you pass it, you get credit for the course. And these are regular continuing education credits issued by our program. One of the interesting things about this whole program is that these are part of larger certificate programs that we're offering in cooperation with the City and County Pavement Improvement Center so that agencies can get people trained and get certificates issued. One is in pavement engineering and management, and the other is in pavement construction inspection. So we were offering 2 programs. Each of those have a set of core courses and a number of electives, and these will be delivered entirely online. The core classes are generally live online classes that you attend at a certain date and time, and the electives are all these self-paced modules that we're rolling out. So any of these classes can be taken individually, or they can be put together to earn a certificate with a pretty excellent curriculum. So more information on that on our website, of course. The last comment that I'm going to make is that I always like people to know that when it gets to the end of the year and local agencies have training budget that they have not expended, we have a great program for escrow. And what we can do is we can do prepaid packages for training so that an agency can put money in the bank for next year's training using last year's money. And then the funding never expires and it's fully transferable within the agency. It can be used for any employee for any class that Tech Transfer offers. So if you have year-end training budget that you want to make sure doesn't go to waste, but you can't quite get the training or it isn't offered until the next fiscal year, definitely reach out to us. We would be delighted to help you, tie that up. All right. I will put my last slide back up on the screen. If I can figure that one out, I will put it back up with the contact information, and I'll put my contact information in the chat box. But let me take a deep breath and pause and see if there's questions.
Thank you, Laura. Wonderful presentation. We don't currently have any questions in the Q&A field for you. All right.
Great.
Thank you. So as Laura said, she's going to throw her chat information up on the screen as well as dropping that in chat. And Laura, is there anything else that you had before we close out this item?
I don't have anything else. I just want to see people get as much training as they want or need. And if you have questions about it, if you need customized training for your agency, reach out. We do more than I can possibly tell you in these few minutes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Laura. And as promised, her information is in the chat. Just a reminder to the attendees, please, if you can think of anything, add recommended topics for us to present to you at our next Local Assistance Day webinar, currently scheduled for May 8th. We would love to hear from you in the Q&A field about what is important to you. And we'll capture those recommendations in Q&A so we can integrate them in future presentations. So with that, this was our final item. I would like to pass it back to our RTPA chair, Rich Murphy, to help close it out.
Sure. No, I just want to thank Laura for that last discussion item. The training is so essential, and where we serve our customers, the local agencies, as an RTPA or as an MPO, the more we're in tune to this, the more we can get folks in to take advantage of these opportunities. So we're definitely going to follow up with you guys up there in Berkeley, make sure we're communicating, the full spectrum of opportunities for some of the greenhorns that come into this industry and in this trade and profession, and then those that clearly have some experience. So that's super. Truly, I see Dee's on the line, and it's great to see you, Dee. I really don't have a closeout message other than we'll stay focused with headquarters and communicating back to you the things that we hear from our group when we meet, and when there's opportunities to agendize items here, we certainly want to do that. I think this process once a quarter or so of having these opportunities like this is fantastic to see the faces and the folks that are involved with all these programs is extremely helpful. A lot of intelligent people out there with their comments and questions that know this stuff inside and out. So I mean, at the end of the day, it's about having the resources and the contacts and knowing how to ask the right questions to be successful in this business. And so this forum has been fantastic in creating those kinds of things. So super. Sammy, thanks for facilitating today, and all the folks that have been on providing their expertise. Really grateful for that. And that's really all I wanted to say. And yeah, thank you.
I just want to echo what you're saying, Rich. You're always very articulate and very mindful of everybody's needs and collaboration. I think that's the main takeaway. I know I couldn't join today, but I do get a lot of feedback with these local assistance days, and you know what, many other forums too. So just for the group out there, number one, thank you. I understand attendance reached over 430, huge turnout. This is huge, and even 330 people still online. So want to thank you there. Just a couple things. One is I've doubled down on training, and I will continue to double down on training from local programs and local assistance. So we've done a lot of work with our districts and a lot of work with our regions and agencies. So this isn't the only forum. It's a huge forum, but it is not the only opportunity. So, you know, get with your regions, get with local assistance, and any other functional areas within Caltrans too. Remember, we can always get creative with agenda, bring in SMEs from other functional areas. I loved in the past participation from the agencies and the regions as far as co-presenting that I've seen. I think those are very essential and important as we navigate delivery. I know there's a lot of different challenges out there that you've communicated over the past year. So there's a great look ahead on this year to come as far as delivery goes. We are going to get, a large pot of this August redistribution pie, as you know, and as we always have, and then always looking forward to efficiency. So echoing what everybody is saying. So really appreciate you being so engaged, whether it's in attendance, facilitation, participation. So it takes quite a community, as you can see. So Sammy, just my thoughts on just a big thank you to everybody.
Thank you, Dee. Thank you, Rich, so much, both of you, for hosting this for all of our attendees. And with that, I think we're ready to conclude our Local Assistance Day webinar. Thank you all for attending. Again, if you have any ideas, you would like to hear something at our next webinar, drop it in Q&A, and we look forward to seeing you. Presenters, if you could hang back for a debrief. Thank you, everyone.